last chance. And we've got drawings for free thrusters at the end of the presentation. That's a lie, by the way. But it got under half of the room to start walking this way, so it worked. Hey, listen, we will sink to any level to succeed. How about that? Okay? Thank you. Yeah, no. S-I-N-K. Got it. Which reminds me of a theme of a team that participated early on. What was it, Dave? Sinking is easy. Surfacing is what makes it a sub. Yeah. All right. Hey, we're not going to take long. We know that you've got a lot of priorities that don't include listening to people speak. But this is the 25th anniversary of RoboSub. And that's a pretty big deal. So we want to just acknowledge it. Sure, go ahead. And we're very lucky enough to have a handful of people that have been part of this thing from the very beginning. They are still alive, amazingly enough. And so we just want to commemorate some things. And there are some that are missing that hopefully are watching this online. But let me just start with, I am Daryl Davidson. I'm the Executive Director of RoboNation. And we've got a kind of brief agenda here, but let me kind of walk through this as fast as we can, or swim through it as fast as we can, and get you back to do the things you want to do. So, I've been asked to tell you the story of how RoboSub came about. And I'm sure all of you have heard the stories about, the cocktail napkin and things that were originated and were created on a cocktail napkin. RoboSub is not one of those. So, actually, RoboSub originated on an airplane. The person who's not here, who was supposed to be with us today, is a guy named Dr. Tom Curtin, who is a program officer at the Office of Naval Research. And Tom and I were both flying back from Florida to DC. We had been at a conference that week, and he was sitting next to me on the plane, and I don't know how many of you have attended conferences, and it just sucks the life out of you in terms of social interaction. So when I got on that plane, I just wanted to put my head down and sleep and put on the big headphones and have nobody talk to me. Well, there was this guy sitting next to me, and everybody on the plane seemed to know who he was. Because they'd walk up and down the aisles, and they'd start speaking to him, and he'd get up and talk to them. And that was Tom Curtin. I had no idea who he was. And so finally I broke down, and about 10 minutes before the plane landed, I said, I just got to ask you, who are you? And he kind of laughed, and he told me who he was, that he was a program officer for ONR, and he talked about what he did, and I said, this is who I am. And at that time, 25 years ago, we only had two other competitions in our portfolio. One of those was an aircraft competition, and the other was a ground vehicle event. And so I was purposely looking for a way to round out that portfolio and create an underwater vehicle competition. And so I shared that with Tom, and he said, well, that's interesting, because I've been wanting to do an underwater competition, and I don't know who does those. And so that was one of those moments that created a relationship, and we shared contact information and baggage claim. We got together a week later, and that was in 1997. And so in the summer of 1998, we held the first ever RoboSub, which then was called the International Autonomous Underwater Vehicle Competition. And that was held in Panama City, Florida. So the moral of that story is don't ever hesitate or be fearful of engaging strangers in conversation. You never know what's going to come out of that. I mean, that opened up the door for 25 years of a lot of students that have gone ahead of all of you. I'm guessing that probably half of you here weren't even born when the first RoboSub occurred. And I have to say that makes me feel incredibly old. But it's also just a pleasure to see where it has come from and where it is. There are a handful of people here that I know were at the first one. One that you've probably heard about is our illustrious technical director, Dave Novick. Somewhere we're going to have a slideshow of pictures, and you're going to see Dave without hair. Or, I mean, I'm without hair. had more hair than I have, but it's not like it is now. There's a young Dave Novick who was a procrastinating PhD. Yeah, he was a procrastinating PhD student at University of Florida, and he kept putting off finishing that program so he could keep participating in RoboSub, or so I heard. So Dave was part of that. We've got two others in the back. Tom Sweeney, and you're going to hear from Dr. Sweeney in a minute. And when this thing ends, go up and look at his T-shirt, because he is wearing a shirt from the 1998 competition. And then the other is Doug Koderoth. Doug was one of our judges back then as well. And unless I know Eric Schwartz. Dr. Schwartz was part of the UF team way back when, but I don't know that anybody else here was involved in that first year. Anybody? Did I miss someone? I don't think so. So Tom Curtin was supposed to be here with us today, and he's home recovering from a procedure and just couldn't make it. But he lives in Arlington, Virginia, and he is watching us on live stream, I hope. So Tom, we dearly miss you, and look forward to having you here next year or some point in the future. All right. It's my understanding that we've got 25 years worth of pictures in 40 seconds. So let's see how that turns out. Okay, that's 25 years in a blink. That's because your attention span is much less than it was in 1998, since most of you were not born, to repeat. So, brief synopsis of where we have been over those 25 years. The first 2 years we did this event, we were in Panama City, Florida, in July. And I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but it was hot and miserable and muggy, and we did it the first 2 years in Panama City. In 2000, we went from Panama City to Florida, and we were actually on the property of Disney World, in one of the lakes in front of one of the hotels there. And that was okay, but we couldn't see the vehicles couldn't see any of the obstacles, and so that was another evolution for us. 2001, we went to the Naval Academy, and we were in Turtle Creek, which runs right through the Naval Academy. And we were there, and we thought we had lost our first vehicle ever. Cornell's vehicle did an unexpected dive into the murky water, and because the little inlet that we were participating in went right out into the Chesapeake Bay, we couldn't find it. And so the divers were looking for it. They were doing search and rescue missions and patterns, and we just knew that this thing was going to show up out of the Chesapeake Bay somewhere. And of course, back then, it looked like a torpedo. We didn't know what kind of homeland security issues would be involved with that. And it shut down the competition for about 2 or 3 hours while they tried to find it. And people were deploying downstream on bridges, thinking that it would time out and float to the surface. And ultimately it was found about a week later by a contractor who took a side scan sonar and did a survey of this body of water, and they found it exactly where it had submerged, stuck in the mud. The interesting thing about the rest of that week is that every team that went after Cornell started writing on their vehicles, if found, please call, and put a phone number on it, because otherwise there's no other way to get it back. So that was the sort of the legacy memory of the Naval Academy, and it was after that that we ended up going out to San Diego at what was then called the Spegmore facility, a Transdeck, and We were in San Diego for 22 years until COVID hit. And so the 2-year gap from COVID and all the restrictions and a lot of the regulations that now exist on Navy facilities are what caused us to move. This is the first year that we've ever been in an indoor swimming pool facility, and we thank you for your patience with helping us work through all of that. So that's kind of the end of it all. We've had a great run. We're going to continue to reinvent and refine and improve with inputs from all of you. That's part of it. You're part of this process with us, and I'll get to that near the very end. But I want to turn it over to Tom Sweeney and let Tom Sweeney make some remarks on behalf of the originals, the founders. You guys stand back here for the camera.
Well, it's great to be here for the 25th competition. It's okay now? Okay. Great to be here for this competition, the 25th, I think it is. So I was one of the first ones to start to fund this. At that time, in 1998, I had the only program at ONR that was actually trying to develop UUVs. And I was doing it from the point of view of mine warfare and special warfare, SEALs, people like that. And so we were using S&T funds to do this. So it looked like a great opportunity. And Tom came back and started saying, hey, guess who I'm at? Guess what I think we need to do? Then we got busy to get into this game with education, with students. And it's really paid off. Over the years, well, I don't know how much we track it now, but I can remember before I retired, we had about 50 or 60 former contestants that were working for Navy, so they learned this technology as developers on teams. They learned teamwork, all that sort of stuff, which turns out to be very, very valuable. If they weren't working for Navy, they were working in national labs like Navy, so it's really been a great experience. I'd love to do it all again. It was fun. We were doing it on a shoestring. We didn't have any money dedicated, but I would run around and get my colleagues to need 10K, need 20K, whatever. So we built up enough to sponsor these types of events. So anyway, that's what I want to say. I congratulate all of you for putting in time and everything that it takes to do this, to be successful in this type of competition. It's going to pay off for you big time as you go forward.
All right, given that Tom is now retired, and the fact that he still comes back and does a lot of support for events that we do on his own time is very special. Thank you, Tom. And now, the official representative of ONR, Dr. Tom Drake. Tom?
Thank you, Daryl. So, on behalf of Rear Admiral Selby, the Office of Naval Research, we're incredibly pleased to be supporting RoboSub for the 25th time. I'm a latecomer to the game, but I've enjoyed it every year that I've attended, and this year's no exception. One of the things that we do at ONR is we tackle the hard problems. And the ocean, understanding what's undersea, is still a huge, hard problem. Space used to be the final frontier. I think we got that one pretty much licked. But the ocean, we still don't know a lot about most of it. So the future is you. You might notice a couple things. The pictures of all the people up there, they all kind of look like me. The future doesn't look like me, it looks like all of you. We want to make sure that we're supporting people, not only in the United States, but around the world, in friendly competitions like this, because you all are going to own the problems that the world is going to be facing in the next couple decades. So those hard problems are where we want to invest, and investing not in technologies, but in the people. You, in particular, is where we want to go. So I want to thank you again, and I want to read a couple words from Tom Curtin. The other thing you might have noticed, there's too many Toms involved in this. Tom sent me a note to read, and it says, "Congratulations to Daryl and his crew for a long and productive partnership. The growth of the AUV competition has been gratifying. It has fostered an appreciation of system engineering and the challenges of underwater autonomy for a whole generation of students. Tom Curtin's recovering from eye surgery. He sends his regards, and he's pleased that his original vision has progressed this far, and the RoboSub will now be transitioning to a self-sustaining event. Best wishes to all, and thanks for a great quarter century."
Thank you, Tom. All right, we're just about done. Stick with us briefly, because what I want to do is also, I want to thank the judges. The judges rotate year over year. Some of them have been here for almost forever. They devote a lot of their own personal time and give up weekends just like you do. They do it because they love and respect and admire everything that you guys are doing. So you're an inspiration to us as much as anything. Also want to thank the volunteers that have helped out, the divers, the people in the pool, the TD staff, Dave and Bill, and a host of others. I want to thank all the RoboNation staff. And I also really want to thank the sponsors. So you guys have probably figured it out in here, but there is this cluster of tables right here in the middle. And if you haven't made time to stop there, then you've made a mistake. So be sure and do that, because they are looking to hire. They're looking to help you. They're looking to provide you with inputs and information. But more than anything, they're part of the industry that are really looking to grow, and they need very capable young talent, which is exactly what we have represented here at RoboSub. So I want to thank all of them. Blue Origin is sitting there, MathWorks, Blue Trail Engineering. Make sure you go by and at least thank them for their support of helping make this happen if you don't do anything else. I want to reiterate what Dr. Drake said, that the future looks like all of you. You guys are going to change the nature of underwater technology. You're going to bring innovation to it. And that's one of the things that we want your help doing as we go forward. So when we give you the opportunity at the end of all of this to give us inputs and give us your thoughts, suggestions, criticisms, we take it all. Help us fix this and help us to make it move forward and get it better. There's really not much to fix, but we can improve always. There's always going to be constant improvement. So we need your help with that. We really want to move forward with innovation and research as we go. And we're going to look at completely redesigning what RoboSub looks like for the future. It'll keep a lot of the same components, but we want to add things to it that will challenge you, and then will help the industry move forward as a whole. And so you'll be a part of helping us with that as well. And I think that is the end of all of this. We have postcards. Because you are part of the 25th anniversary, I encourage you to come get these free postcards and send it off to somebody. If you're smart, just send it off to potential sponsors, people that can offer you hardware or money or consulting, or send it off to your faculty or the dean of your university. Send it to somebody to make sure they know that you were here and part of this significant event. And we think it's kind of fun, but we also want you to use this to your advantage. Don't make it just fun, although you can do that too. We love to have fun, but we want to help you out. So with that, if I forgot anything, all right, good luck to all of you. See the sponsors, thank the judges and the volunteers, and best of luck to you in the home stretch of RoboSub. Thank you for being here.